I know, 3 days of lockdown in a post-COVID world probably seems like nothing. But when it's because of something you don't understand that could kill me the second I go out if I'm not protected. Okay, well, now that I type it out, it's really similar, isn't it? Whatever. I live in the middle of bumfuck nowhere. The nearest town is 3 miles away, nearest neighbor is 2. The high desert, or Oregon Outback, as some idiots call it, is pretty remote in parts. Not really a desert, more of a shrubland, but names clearly don't mean anything anyway. My family moved out here a few years back. They were all sick of everything about Portland. I loved it up there and hate living out here in the sticks. But since I don't pay the mortgage, my opinion got discarded and we ended up here, a few miles outside of Vail. Going from a place with a population of 2.5 million down to under 2,000 was a bit of a culture shock. I genuinely might be the only queer person in this shithole town. In Portland, I could open up Tinder or Grindr and see dozens of other girls with septum piercings and split-dye jobs. Here, people look at me like I'm a sideshow freak. Not really a comforting place to be, not helped by the fact that my parents have a just tough it out mentality. All that to say, I already didn't leave the house too often. I just wrapped my freshman year of online college and was planning to do another year online before moving back to Portland for my last 2 years. Parents did the grocery shopping, and I really only ever left the house if I needed coffee or something. I'd been home alone for a few days by now, since it was my parents' anniversary. They'd gone out to Lincoln City for a few days and left me at the house. Now, we might not live in a real desert from an ecological standpoint or whatever, but it's still goddamn hot out here. Especially the last couple years, it's been brutal. Like most people in the state, we didn't have central air, so I just had box fans set up with the windows open, hoping for the best. I woke up a few days ago and felt uneasy. Like something was watching me, even though I knew I was home alone. I tried to shake the feeling off as best I could, but it was always there, like I was just missing movement out of the corner of my eye. I poured some cereal into a bowl, and as I looked out the open kitchen window, I saw whatever it was. The phone was probably about 7 feet tall, but it was hard to really tell. It was constantly shifting, changing in width and height. It was vaguely humanoid, but that also shifted regularly. The number of limbs kept changing, and they were never consistent. 1 second the arms ended in hands, the next they were sharp hooks. Then after that, they'd become tentacles. The whole thing was in shades of gray, as if the figure had made its way to the kitchen window by now, and as I re-entered the room, the vague shape of its head tilted to one side, as it rested an appendage on the glass. Still ever shifting, from hand to hook to jagged claws to tentacle, back to hand to talon. Repeating the shift over and over. I just stood and stared, feeling my heart sink into my gut. This can't be real. This has to be some sort of prank. Some sort of hologram or something. I heard a car approaching, and my heart sunk even further as I recalled the text from my mother last night. We should be home early, Heather. Dad decided to drive through the night instead of get a hotel, so expect us early tomorrow morning. Can't wait to see you, dear. I ran over to the living room window and saw our family station wagon making its way down the dusty drive. The thing outside seemed to hear it too, as it turned to face the front of the house, disappearing from my view out the kitchen window. I heard the car turn off and a door slam. I ran to the front door and unlocked it, throwing it open as I saw my dad stretching, holding a cup of coffee as he stood next to the car. My mother was still in her seat, wrestling with a few shopping bags. "Dad, get back in the car." He looked up as I shouted from the doorway, a confused look on his face. The confusion quickly turned to horror as he saw the figure lurching towards him. "Heather, what the hell is Dash?" The thing caught up to him, and as it approached, it seemed to stop shifting for a moment. It reared back an arm, which was now topped with a vicious-looking hook, and brought it down into my dad's shoulder. He screamed and dropped his coffee, and I could see my mother screaming through the glass of the windshield as well. My dad tried to grab at the creature, but a second arm, this one ending in a normal-looking hand, grabbed him by the throat and lifted him off the ground. The hook fell from his shoulder as the arm began to shift again, and his face began to turn purple almost immediately. The creature slammed him onto the car's hood, the whole vehicle rocking as he made impact. My mother's face slammed into the dashboard, and her head reeled back, blood pouring from her nose as she sat there, looking dazed. The figure brought the arm down on my father again, this time with a heavy-looking spike. With a crunch I could hear from the 20 feet up the driveway to the door, the spike pierced through my dad's forehead. Immediately, the fight went out of him as his body went limp. My mother screamed again as she recollected herself following the impact, now seeing what had happened to her husband. I threw up on the front porch. I'd never seen anything even close to this level of brutality up close, much less to the man who raised me. I hadn't gotten that cereal down, so it was all bile coming back up. The creature turned to look up at me, and much quicker than before, approached the house, seeing me in the open doorway. I saw it blitzing me and was just able to get the door shut in time, its body slamming into the solid wooden door as I slammed it closed. I frantically turned the lock and looked through the peephole. The thing was facing the door, but its face was featureless. It was almost like a cloud of static was surrounding its head, as no matter what, I couldn't make out anything more than the vague outline of a head. Past it, I saw my mother open the car door and start fleeing down the driveway. The creature seemed to hear it as well, as it flipped around and began to dash after her. Planting a spike in the hood of the car, right next to my father's shoulder, it vaulted over the vehicle entirely, easily clearing 10 feet into the air, before coming down on top of my fleeing mom. I know there was nothing I could do to help her. We don't own guns, and there was no way in hell I was going to be able to take that thing in a fist fight. I still feel the guilt, though. It landed on top of her, and I could just barely see it begin raining blows down on her, with various limbs. I can only hope it killed her quickly. After about 5 minutes, the thing approached the house again. I saw it pass the living room windows, the front door, and the kitchen windows, before looping back again and standing near the front door. As of me writing this, it's been 3 days and 12 hours. I'm posting this at roughly 11 p.m. PDT. The creature has not left the front of the house. Sometimes it moves spots, from near the door to near the kitchen, but it has kept its sentinel watch at the front side of the building faithfully for 3 days. All I can assume it is somehow can't get through the doors or windows. It hasn't even tried to break them, even though it can see me inside. I'm not sure what it wants, or how long it'll be here. All I can hope is someone reads this and help comes.